Based on what I'm looking at here, every month should be April.
Yeah.
So this is what it feels like to be early. Get your haircut, Greg?
Pardon me?
Get your haircut?
Oh, maybe we could go
Looks good.
every once in a while.
Good to
Right.
go.
All right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Finance and Ways and Means Committee's quarterly update. Purpose of this meeting is to receive the second quarter 2022 financial update from our finance director. This committee meeting represents my ongoing commitment as committee chair to keeping council members and citizens informed, and further represents my intent for this committee to continue to receive quarterly financial updates from the financial director. Quarterly updates we've received since the beginning of this process in 2020 have proved very valuable in keeping council members informed and updated on a recurring basis. As has also been our practice in the past 2 years, council members have received for review prior to this meeting a quarterly refuse recycling report from Amanda Gamby. I look forward to the presentations. Do any of fellow committee members have any comments?
Nope, I'm good.
Oh, very good then. I'll welcome our finance director to the
Thank
podium.
you. Good evening. I'll try to make it as painless as possible, and you'll have to bear with me. I'm doing my own technology here. So, and this is a quarterly review through June 30th, 2022. And so we'll just go over. Oh, come on. Right. This is just some of the things we're going to go over. We'll do our summary by fund type, a budget to actuals, a review of our cash position, income tax update, and then some budget considerations for this year and things we'll have to think about going into next year. So this is a citywide summary by fund type. And again, those different fund types, I break them down there because that's what we report on for our annual reporting. If the general fund looks huge, it's because within that, it's also the income tax fund. I added it together this time to capture the operating activity of the income tax division. So the net will be the same, the in and out. But the income tax division operating's within it because it's in that fund. Special revenue funds are our grant funds, things that are spent on a specific thing based on revenue type. Capital fund is for capital improvements, and enterprise funds are all our utilities funds. They function kind of like business activities. And you can see the year-to-date, the first column year-to-date is actual expenditures, and in the categories, they're most of them are within that 50% mark. Any anomalies out of that is usually due to timing. For example, in the special revenue fund type, in the revenue, that's 67%. We received the second half of our ARPA funds. So we received 100% of what we budgeted there. So it kind of skews the percentage. And the same with, so the capital funds are a little low because some of those projects just started up, and we're also waiting on several vehicles. So that's what I mean by timing and things like that. There's no cause for concern, really. Okay. And so this is just the revenue budget to actual in a bar graph that shows you those different fund types are fairly close to those 50% marks, with the exception, of the special revenue and capital. And this is the same thing for the expense. The dark orange is the budget, while the light is the actual amounts. Just broken down the same as what was in my first worksheet. And this is a slide about our cash position to kind of see what bucket everything falls in by fund type. And the pie chart is by percentage. And, you can see that the enterprise fund has the bulk of the cash, the enterprise funds. And it's really because they have the most activity, on both sides of the ledger. So, and of this 94 million, right now we have about 58 million of it in investments, and we tailor our investment portfolio. We diversify it by investment type and maturity date. We have some other factors we always need to consider, but just recently I met with our investment advisor, and we're already planning for some of the things the feds have come out with the interest rates going up and where they're going to be in the next 3 years. So we'll stagger some of those investments too. We have some coming due, but we try to keep as much invested as we can. So. And here's our income tax summary. I added a column difference between 2021 actual collections. So you'll see where it says 2022 estimate, that's basically a month-to-month estimate where we think we'll be. And we exceeded that for the year already. And then I added the 2021 actual comparison so you can see just the difference between the prior year. So we are ahead of the game, and if it stays like this, well, we can hope it stays like this. But historically, the last half of the year, we really are right at that 50% mark. So it's reasonable to think that we're going to end the year above what we budgeted.
Could you explain the 2021 minus 2022 difference?
Those are the actual collections month to month. So the 2022 actual collection, the 2,123,967. The 2021 actual was 2,093,000. So for the same time, at the same time last year, we were at 673,000 less than we are this year, the actual collections. And this is just a graph showing you the same thing, with the light green being the actual collections for this year and the dark green being the actual for last year. And the red line being where the estimate month to month we expect it to fall. And this is a reminder of where our tax dollars go. I don't think we've seen it for a while, and I actually inherited it from Brian Bouchong and came across it. I thought it was a good time to remind everybody where those dollars are distributed out, especially for some of the new council members. So this is per $100 of income tax, where it goes to the different funds, and that's by city code. The fire and police fund amounts, those are those extra ballot issues we had to fund extra firefighters and police officers. So those are required to go into a separate fund. I just thought it was interesting to remind people that that's where it goes. And budget considerations. So again, everybody's talking about inflation. Over the last 12 months, the CPI has increased over 9% before seasonal adjustments. Without the energy component, it's 5.9%. So we're watching that, and we've seen some of that. Everybody keeps hearing me talk about where I see it. The most is in our fuel bills every month. That's like an immediate impact. I'm sure that we have some other areas that we're paying more for stuff, but it seems like the departments might be pulling back on some of their spending just based on the numbers quarter to date and what our budget is. But we're still anticipating a supplemental appropriation in September to try to capture all of that. And so that's why it's kind of nice if the income tax comes in high, because the supplemental will come from our fund balances. So we'll kind of weigh both sides of the ledger for that. We're also still seeing supply chain shortages. I have in the last 2 weeks got notified that some of the vehicles that were ordered were either finished or ready to be delivered. So that's good for the departments, but it means our cash flow will start spending those dollars. And we're seeing some increases in some of the estimates we had from our capital projects, and been in conversations with Lori and the mayor and Joe about how we'll fund some of those. If the contracts come in high, the reality is we'll have to do it with fund balance or borrowing, or those are our two options. And we'll just have to make those decisions. I think interest rates are high. Everybody knows the upside for us is it's good for our investments. The downside is it's higher borrowing costs. So that's, kind of one half of the other. So I do think through the end of the year, I'm sure cautiously optimistic. I think somebody said last time that we're fine through the end of the year as far as being able to fund some of our inflationary items and things we're going to need for our appropriations and getting through the end of this year relatively healthy. I'm more concerned to see how it's going to affect us for next year. And the problem is that some of the predictors that we use, everybody's talking about supply chain, supply and demand, and unemployment, and they're just not panning out the same effects as they would. For example, unemployment is relatively low, so that's a good thing. But there's still more jobs out there than there are people to employ. So that's a staffing issue for us. So although there's not a lot of unemployed workers, there's still a lot of jobs, which kind of skews some of your finance predictions. So we're just watching them. And I hate to keep saying that, but we really are going to, when we go into this next budget session, we'll have to really dig deep and see how that's going to affect, how this right now is going to affect us going into next year and maybe the year after. That's all I have. Unless you have any questions.
I mean, I was just thinking, I know we replace our fleet vehicles on a regular schedule. And I've been fortunate enough not to have to replace a vehicle in the past 2 years, but I know people that have. And I know that it's incredibly expensive right now. Is there a point where we might want to try to keep vehicles that we have in service longer, or eventually will it just be more expensive anyway?
Well, I haven't heard that discussion. Obviously, I could bring it up, but I think the departments weigh those anyway. And Lori may want to speak to it, or Joe, but some of the vehicles you really do have to switch out at a certain time.
Yeah.
The other ones, I think it's a case by case.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was something we were looking at or not. So.
And well, I can tell you the enterprise fleet program that we're in, they monitor our fleet as well. And sometimes they'll have a buyer for a vehicle we have that pays more than sometimes even we bought it for. So we, leverage all that together to try to save money.
All right. That's all I have.
So you're still up to the meeting estimates?
I am. And again, it's both sides of the ledger because the income tax is coming in healthy. I know that we'll have some inflationary costs, so I'm pretty confident it's going to balance out that way. Just looking ahead to next year, that's the challenge.
All right. I have no further questions. Thank you
Thank you.
for the update. I appreciate it. It's helpful. And then I'll ask colleagues if anybody has any questions on the refuge recycling report. Otherwise, put that along.
Right. No, it seems pretty self-explanatory. I mean, as always, it'd be better if we recycled more than we threw away, but it is what it is. So.
Well, this report, as you know, was generated first just where the costs were and where they were
Right.
going, looking at relative costs, not the program itself, but the costs.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you. That'll conclude our committee meeting for this evening.
Oh, this was a committee meeting, not the council meeting. Council meeting is 45 minutes.
There is a
it's
public-
45 minutes from now is our city council meeting. No, you just got an extra bonus.
Yeah.
And we have another committee meeting at 6:30. So you thought you were coming to a council meeting, but you're getting that plus 2 committee meetings.
There is a public comment portion of the council meeting. Biggest crowd ever for a financial update.
You thought you had fans.
I know.
Thanks.
Oh, you want to?
It's okay.
Clear the
Thank
stage
you.
for the next.
I have it back.
Them up, flip them down.
Uh-oh,
Here we go round and round.
I'll hide.
There, he's,
All right,
we're
got
ready.
it. All right, I would like to call this meeting of the Committee of Community Improvement to order. Today, we will be talking about Chapter 123, Policy on Electric Scooters. Do we have any members of the community who would like to talk or signed up?
Yes, we have Sharon Stratman.
Haven't read through the whole thing and maybe the answers are in there.
Excuse me, could you state your name and address?
Oh,
please?
Sharon Stratman, and I'm at 319 Westwood Drive here in Bowling Green.
Thank you.
And my concern was if these scooters would be on the streets sharing traffic lanes with vehicles, or will they be on the sidewalks? And maybe my biggest concern is the downtown area where we can't ride bikes on the sidewalks. If scooters are allowed on the sidewalks, then will they be banned from the downtown area? Not banned, but not allowed to ride. They could walk it. I'm supposing we'll have parking somewhere for these.
Sure, I can go ahead. 123.06, operation upon bicycle/pedestrian way and streets covers that. May be operated on shared bicycle or pedestrian ways, including such shared bicycle pedestrian ways in public parks, as well as streets, and where available in bike lanes and bike paths. They will not be on the sidewalk.
They will not be on the sidewalk.
They
They
won't.
will be on the street.
Yes.
So vehicles will be sharing the street with scooters and bicycles.
The ordinance actually redefines vehicle to include east. So these are also vehicles.
And what's their maximum speed, minimum speed, or,
Maximum would be 20.
okay.
Presumably that is the speed that they would go, but I guess that depends on the manufacturer. You could
Okay,
go
but
slower.
I guess my concern then would be on far end of West Worcester here and far end of East Worcester, the speed limit is 35. Is that going to impede traffic if they can only go 20?
Well, these would be traffic. There is a provision, I believe they cannot be operated on any street where the speed limit is above 35. So that would include speed limit up to 35. And I guess to 40. Feel free to, this is all from memory, so this,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
123.05 B says e-scooters cannot be operated on streets or highways with speed limits higher than 35 miles per hour. So they would be, if they wanted to go down South Main, they would be in traffic like bikes could be.
Mhm.
And bikes, I guess, really good bicyclists can get up to 35, not me. But it would be the same kind of thing.
That kind of thing was. Okay. I think that will answer. So they're not on the sidewalks. Is that what you said? Or they could.
They could be parked there. It says e-scooters
parked.
cannot be operated on sidewalks except as permitted by Bowling Green State University. So if they're on the university, they could, but possibly, but outside the university, they cannot be operated on sidewalk. I'm assuming you could walk them on a sidewalk. I mean, if you just can't ride them.
I would assume because you can walk your bicycle
Yeah.
down Main Street. I mean, not on the street, but on the side.
I'm thinking that wouldn't be what they normally do because kind of defeats the purpose of renting it. But if they were going from point A to point B and part of it was a sidewalk, maybe they would do that. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you. No one else has signed up for comment?
Correct.
Excellent. I would like to open up the committee for discussion on the legislation or amendments.
You guys want me?
If you have amendments.
I do. So I've got several amendments in front of you. It looks like a long list, but there are really three broad goals. The first would be to broaden this so that it includes not only e-scooters, but also bikes, shared mobility devices, which would include bikes and e-bikes that are, what is the language? Placed on the street by companies for rent per trip. So Amendment 1 would be to amend Chapter 123 to add a definitions section that, for the purposes of this chapter, defines the following, quote, micromobility device, end quote, means bicycles, electric bicycles, and electric scooters distributed by companies throughout the city to be rented per trip. And there are several amendments here which change various sections of this to relate not only to e-scooters, but also to bicycles and electric bicycles that fall within that definition. The second major amendment would be an addition of a section titled Data, Statistics, and Reporting.
Hold on just a moment. So amendments 1 through
That would be
6
1 through 6.
are really replacing the definition, replacing electric scooters with micro mobility devices and offering the definition of what that is.
Yeah, and rather than go through all those amendments, we could simply make a motion to include that and send it over to the city attorney and let him address that proposed change in whichever way he sees fit. This is how I would do it, but I am certainly not in any position to recommend updates to our legislation to somebody with his caliber of experience. Number 7 would be the addition of a section titled Data, Statistics, and Reporting. This is pulled directly from the city of Athens, which requires the micromobility companies to provide certain pieces of information on a regular basis to the city. That would include an aggregated breakdown of users by gender and age, the number of what they refer to as small vehicles in circulation, daily, weekly, and monthly active users, again, small vehicle usage, including total miles broken down daily, monthly, quarterly, and annually, number and duration of rides per user per day, anonymous data taken by the operators, again, small vehicles in the form of heat maps showing routes, trends, origins, and destinations. And there's a few others down there, including reported collisions. This is not addressed in our ordinance. I think it would be great to have that information. And I personally would hope that any company that we are giving this license to would be not only willing to capture that information, but hopefully it's something that they would already be doing and can share with us so that we can refine this program as needed in the future. Amendment number 8 would amend.
If you could take a moment to please explain what the purpose of this is. I mean, I see what it's doing.
I think the purpose would be to provide a lot of great information to the city on where some of our transportation needs are, whether we need to increase the number of what I would call micromobility devices that are permitted, whether we have a bunch of these out on the street that may or may not be clogging up sidewalks, or we are issuing a lot of citations in this space. And based on this information, maybe we don't need quite as many. So I think it would be great to have this information, and other cities are collecting it. So it seems like something that we would want as well. The burden on us would be very low. I mean, it could get sent to us and we could do nothing with it if that is the direction we'd like to go, but I don't think anybody would want to do that.
Thank you.
Number 8 would be an amendment to chapter 123 to add a section titled Fleet Size Requirements. Again, this is pulled directly from the city of Athens, so perhaps these numbers are something that we would want to take a look at. I would note at this point, though, that in the, I spoke to 2 different companies, representatives of companies in this space, and each of them suggested that we limit the fleet size. I thought that was notable. Also that Athens, Ohio is limiting their fleet size here. The limits that they've got would be for 50 bicycles or electric bicycles and a minimum of 50, maximum of 100 for bicycles, minimum 50, maximum 100 for electric scooters. This would be per operator. And then a total, they give a total of 500 between all permittees. And for companies with a mix between scooters and bikes, which I think we will be seeing very shortly, there is a combination of 50 micromobility devices and a maximum of 100 micromobility devices, provided there is a minimum of 20 of each micromobility device. So I guess the explanation for this is that I think we need to be very careful about the number of these we are permitting on the street. I think there is an incentive for companies to flood the street with as many as possible so that you can find their brand on each street corner. It sounds like that is something that has occurred in other cities. And I think if we set this bar and again, collect relevant information, we can adjust the bar later as needed.
How big is Athens in comparison to us?
Give me just a second. That is knowable information. I would say about 20,000. 24,978 as of 2020. Bowling Green is about 32,000. So they have about 7,000 fewer people. Their university is bigger, I'm told. By about 10,000 students. That said, Bowling Green also has a relatively high poverty rate. Do you know what the poverty rate in Athens? Anybody in the audience? Lowest median income in Ohio. I like the language of Athens. I am not sure. We can draw whatever conclusions we want from those differences in demographics.
Yeah. So it seems of a comparable size.
I would argue,
between the
yes.
University and us. So, I mean, this legislation means we intend to solicit other operators.
There are several operators who are interested in Bowling Green right now, and I think we'll be seeing several companies. We've got one that is already operating. I know there is some interest on a larger company in locating to Bowling Green, and also as part of that, packaging a bike share model that they plan to launch by the end of the year. So the alternative to all of this would be to pass the legislation as written and then turn around and amend all of it very quickly before these are on the street at the end of August, which is fine.
Sure.
Yes.
I think that it might be prudent to do what Jeff has done by separating into 3 sections. The first section increases it to from just e-scooters. I think that would seem prudent. I would just probably nitpick a little bit with it's bicycles, electric scooters. What about regular scooters? And I got to believe there's not much of a market for unicycles, but or tricycles. So we probably don't need to add those. But if we include some sort of a regular scooter as opposed to just electronic, that again, what are we trying to do here? First of all, if we do nothing, there's Ohio revised code, so there's a default And what we're trying to do is tailor this to our community in terms of including more choices. I do know that I was in my hometown a few months back and walked by the library and had a sign that specified instructions on sharing bicycles. And so it's like, well, that the same concept of you just don't bring your own bike. They're all over the place. Pick it up, use it, drop it where you're supposed to. So the idea of expanding it would seem to make good sense. The actual wording of these amendments, I think that Jeff is selling himself short. He's put through a lot of time to be able to do this kind of stuff, but deferring to the city attorney probably would be prudent. So I would say what we would do here is determine whether or not we want to expand it. That's the first one.
So is there a motion to amend e-scooters to read micromobility device along with the definition?
I would make a motion that the first 6 options on here are amended, that the legislation is amended to reflect page 1 of the document that I've distributed.
Mr. Chair, bear in mind that we as a body can't amend the legislation.
I understand. We can make a recommendation,
But
though.
recommend, yes, we can recommend that. I don't know if I'm in a position, having received this about 25 minutes ago, to say that I'm in favor of the exact wording. The concept, I think, is a good concept. So if we were to refer it back with these as suggestions, refer it back to the city attorney for him to do his thing, that might allay some concerns and yet still move it along, because I don't know as if we're in a position to actually pass the legislation tonight, because we've appreciably changed it if we're entertaining this possibility. And there probably isn't a huge hurry. But that's the first section.
So why don't we take a vote on our recommendation on this?
Well, if I could just add to that discussion on the motion before us, I think it would be appropriate to, given these changes especially, to table this for a later date and maybe schedule a subsequent meeting of either this committee or probably this committee. Sustainability would be happy to take it on if you guys, the only reason I suggest that is because I know Rachel is doing a lot of great work on complete streets, and she, I think, would have a lot to offer to this discussion. That she can come speak at lobby visitation though, if she would prefer that, or we can weigh in.
We don't have to wait. We can just speak up.
So I do think it would be appropriate to give this maybe a little bit more time, I guess is what I'm saying, and whatever way you guys want to make that happen, I would support that.
Well, I think it is going to be coming up
Yep.
in 15 minutes. So if we have recommendations, if we support these amendments, we should be prepared to recommend that to the full council. I recognize that. So why don't we take a vote on amendments 1 through 6? Or at least recommend the change in definition and returning it to the city attorney.
So move.
Is there a second?
Would repeat the motion, please.
That I may not get exactly the same wording that you had, Joel, that we recommend increasing the devices to include bicycles, electronic bicycles, and scooters, and that we refer it back to the city attorney for his working that into the legislation.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right, on to
The statistics.
Amendment 7 and the statistics.
I'm a firm believer in statistics. It's put a lot of bread on my table. I would dearly love to have all of these data. But I'm also concerned that by having all of these requirements, maybe not a subset, but having all these requirements might make it a bit onerous for a small company that's hoping to get into the market. I don't want to be in the position of picking winners and losers. I don't want to be in the position of passing legislation that crowds out smaller competitors. And so the concept of gathering some of this information is a good, but I don't want it to be too burdensome. For example, it would be, again, I'm a statistician, how do you make me happy? Give me lots of good data. But aggregated breakdown of users by gender and age, that information, there may be several potential pitfalls with gathering that information. Yet, the number of total miles, I imagine they probably would have to have some measure of that. And so some of these may be reasonable in terms of not being onerous to a small or large company, but I'm not sure all of them. So the concept of adding some requirements for reporting, I'm fine with that. I'm just concerned that there'd be just too much here.
I'm concerned on a privacy level about
Yeah.
And I'm concerned, I don't really have a concern. I'm just wondering about the usefulness of 7. Like I could certainly see as a city why we would have an interest in citizen complaints, but customer complaints seem outside of our purview.
Yeah, possibly. I guess my response to that would be that users of these companies download an app. So I would bet that somebody somewhere knows what these users have had for breakfast. What we're doing is asking for anonymous statistics here from the company, from information that they have already gathered. Again, this was pulled from the city of Athens, so don't feel any strong relationship to any of these. We can amend these as if you guys want to get rid of the breakdown of users by gender and age. I know for me personally, I would like to know where some of the transportation needs in our city are, which would include, any underserved community. So it would be useful information, I think, but if you think that it goes too far from the privacy standpoint and we would like the company to maintain that information without needing to provide it to the city, that's fine with me as well. And number 7, customer complaints. I could see value in knowing to what degree complaints received by this company are being reported to the city. If that would suggest that we need to do more to educate these users on various avenues they can take to hold this company accountable. I could see the use there, but again, it's not.
I do think it's useful for us to have some statistics about how they're being used, whether it's useful in the city, whether it's a productive service, whether we want to expand it or not. So I certainly see the usefulness in this. I think I would prefer to request information that we intend to use rather than an excess of information personally.
So we'd like to get rid of 7 from this list, which I mean, if something is being vandalized or stolen, I'm assuming that would be reported. So 7 we can get rid of. And number 1, is there anything else on the list that,
I'm not completely opposed to that. If you think that it's, if you believe that we're going to be really learning about who's you, like,
and the company is collecting credit card information, so they've got,
they've got it all.
So you want to replace that with
yeah,
credit
right,
card
just credit
numbers?
card information. Yes. Is that a motion, Bill?
No,
There you go, right? Do we have a motion?
no, I will not move that one.
Okay. Oh, I also
I'm
will not
afraid
move.
someone will.
Bill,
second
you
it.
do statistics. Is that something that would be useful for us?
My criteria is not useful, strictly usefulness to us. I'm concerned that we would be generating too much red tape for the companies or individuals that are bringing this in. I can tell you that something as simple as aggregated breakdown of users by gender and age, having done survey research for many years, gender itself can be problematic. And then age could be age group, but maybe if they do age group, that's not meeting the requirement of age. It has to be their exact age at that point. And it's, believe it or not, something as simple as that it could be difficult. And then once we have that, what will we do with it? So I'm not comfortable with 1. The number of small vehicles in circulation, I would assume they have that. They know how many they have.
They would have to if we amended
Yeah.
to have
Right.
size limits.
And well, that's another topic. And then daily and weekly and monthly active users, how many people used it each day? Or how many times a vehicle was used? If it's the same person 2 or 3 times, what do we mean by that? And small vehicle usage, total number of miles, I think they probably have that, so it wouldn't be onerous to them. The duration of rides, probably they have that. The routes, I don't know. If they are already collecting that, great. It'd be nice if they could provide that to us. But if they're not collecting that and they don't have a mechanism set up to be able to trace it, like GPS or whatever, then that could change the players. And I'd hate to have somebody not come to the city because they can't provide that in their business plan. So that's the general approach that I'm taking to these items. I am noticing that the president of council is standing in the back, which is his first step or second step in trying to get us to end the meeting. I'm not sure what the third step is, but I'm sure it's not pretty.
So I think I would like longer to study Amendment 7. I do feel there's benefit in Amendment 8 in ensuring that there's relatively fair competition amongst providers.
When you say fair competition, you're saying that if you have a minimum number, I think that stifles competition.
I think that ensures that we have like legitimate providers.
And the startup that we've heard from plans to introduce well over that number to the market. So this is ensuring that we're not going to have somebody that goes out and buys 5 of these and leaves them laying around and is not a responsible operator.
Well, there's other mechanisms in the legislation to take care of that.
I suggest you guys schedule another meeting.
Is there a particular reason?
Well, I don't think you're going to wrap this up in the next 1 minute.
Ye of little faith.
All right. Let's call this meeting to a close. I will work with you two and schedule another time.
I'm wondering if before I second that, I'm wondering if we should get some input, since we have the luxury of between now and whenever our next meeting is, get some input from the administration on some of this, because they may be able to shed some light on it, as well as included in that would be the city attorney. So that's all I'm saying, is it'd be nice to take that time and request the administration give us some feedback as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
So just to be clear, though, if we make a motion to table this, it needs to be to a date certain. So we will need to decide
a date certain
Now,
a date certain. I mean, not now, but
between now and when we vote on it.
um, are we going to send it to another committee?
I
Or are we
wouldn't
gonna
see
hold-
it.
I don't see a need for that.
No.
that
We are going to send I hear that we're going to send amendments 1 through 6 to the city attorney.
For his, have him work his magic.
And do we want to discuss amendments 7 and 8 full council, or do we want to discuss it amongst ourselves before we refer it to the full council?
I'd say amongst ourselves, but every council member has the option of bringing it up on their own. And we know they're not shy.
this
So,
this will be given its third reading tonight, so there will be discussion amongst council members.
so we should have these amendments available for the full council.
I have copies printed for everybody to take home.
Okay, great. We'll do that. We can postpone it 2 weeks, August 1st, before the next full council meeting.
Are you guys going to be available to meet that evening?
I
My
am.
schedule's open.
There's the 6 o'clock committee of the whole on August 1st.
What's the topic of that?
ARPA funding.
You know, you guys can schedule
We'll schedule it.
next Tuesday or after this meeting. Plenty of time to schedule.
I think 7:20 tonight. Oh, wait, that's not enough
That's
warning.
very optimistic.
I don't know.
I'm
We'll
willing to
see.
go with you on that one.
So committee adjourned then?
I guess we're adjourned, right?
All right.
Committee is adjourned.
So aye.
Feeling very relaxed today.
You're not all of
So when it comes to this, we just take that.
Yeah. Next, probably to the next August
We're
1st.
good with that on.
Yes, here, let me, I'm changing it for this meeting.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Second reading.
Write your name and address, that would be great.
I appreciate the help.
Okay,
We have the legislation.
I appreciate it.
And so when we give it, its first reading, I will announce the public hearing. Okay. Right? Yes. Okay.
You got legislation.
yeah,
Well,
yes.
We don't even have the
Joel, did you
legislation.
get a copy of the use
then
agreement
does that mean I have a
for,
chance to go to the Ventura?
the draft use agreement for the e-scooter?
Depends on how long you plan it.
I don't plan on staying long.
This, yeah, I've read the ordinance.
So I'm gonna just ask Lori real quick.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes.
Not having action.
I like Jan's new do. There's so many people here, guys. I said that that's not the case. So Mark, I'm gonna set the zoning ordinance for a hearing on September 5th. Monday is Labor Day. Jody said that you needed to announce that we're changing our meeting. But it doesn't seem like I can set it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just, she wanted me to ask you. Sounded.
What's up?
Signature and then the date.
Yes.
It's very depressing. Back at my day job.
Yeah. What is your? Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, we have to sign this. Awesome. Thank you, Jared. Can you sign this real quick?
Will do.
That's community improvement.
Yeah.
That's
Go
horrible.
ahead and sign it, but we're just in the printed back page. That's 6 minutes later. Bring it signed by you and Mark.
You all ready to go?
You introduce the resolution first.
What's that?
You introduce yours first, and then Greg will do his, then.
Okay.
If that works.
Oh, we gotta flip your name tag, Nick. Oh,
Thanks.
They were there. Thank you.
Stealth mode.
mhm. Nope. Nope, I have one. Pick two.
All right, we all good? Thank you. Very good. All right. Sorry for the delay. Could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Jody, could you call the roll, please?
Dennis,
Here.
Harold,
Here.
Hollenbach,
Here.
Odericio,
Here.
Phipps,
Here.
Robinette,
Here.
Robando.
Here.
Okay, the minutes from our meeting on July 5th were distributed for your perusal. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, correspondence. Jody, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we have one piece of correspondence this evening received from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control was an application for a D3 and D3A liquor permit for Jesus Vasquez Garcia doing business as Lupita Mexican Taqueria, 425 Wooster Street. Zoning and police records were requested.
All right, thank you. Any other correspondence?
No.
Okay. We have a special recognition this evening, Mr. Mayor.
President. Yes, this evening I am proud to, along with Steve Langendorfer, who I'm going to ask to join me here at the podium, on behalf of the Bicycle Safety Commission, to award the 2022 Bicycle Spokesperson of the Year. We are really proud this evening to present this award to Don DiBartolomeo. Did I say that right? Thank you very much. Thank you. Please come on up, Don. Don has a long history of involvement in cycling, in advocacy for cycling-related issues, and for developing programs to develop interest in cycling among young people in our community and others. So, Steve, if you would like to take a couple of minutes to maybe provide a little bit more detail on Don's contributions.
Well, every year we award a bicycle spokesperson, pun intended. All right. And each year the candidates have a number of qualifications that the Bicycle Safety Commission takes into account in choosing them. This year we have really hit the jackpot. It was a fairly obvious decision among the nominations. Don is a noted figure in bicycling throughout West Ohio. He runs particularly a nonprofit called The Right Direction. And some of you may have come out to the community center over one of the last 5 years in May during Bike Month. And Don brings his Right Direction riders out. And we invite all of the third graders from all the schools in Bowling Green. And I always feel sorry for the teachers after they're done, because you've never seen a group of third graders quite so excited as when Don and his riders go over ramps, do somersaults, 180s, 360s, all sorts of twists and turns, and there's lots of music involved and things. So, and that's just one of the many things that Don does in the area. So we are very proud for the 2022 Bike Spokesperson to be Don DiBartolomeo. And he's the only one that has a name as long as mine, I think. So we would like to, so what happens is that we have a plaque that resides out in the hallway out here on the wall. And Don has the distinction of having to be the first person on the new part of the plaque. So we will post this first part tonight, and we've got to figure out a connection here. But we would like to have the mayor and I would like to present you with this certificate to recognize your contributions and your award as the bicycle spokesperson. All right. And Don's picture this year is not just any old picture, but it's an action picture of him on his mountain bike going down a set of steps. I just fell off my bike tonight on the way here and knocked down a bunch of steps. So. All right, congratulations, Don.
Okay. That brings us to lobby visitations. Has anyone signed up for lobby visitation?
Yes. First person is Rick Hussell.
I'm going to defer. Actually.
Yeah.
If you could just come up to the podium and give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kurt Panter, and I'm at 717 Brittany Avenue here in BG. So I just wanted to, just a few comments about appeal to the city and to city council about bike safety in Bowling Green, and maybe trying to appeal to a little more effort with education, not so much of just bikers for safety, but of motor vehicle drivers for safety. I had an incident last week where I was passed close to a stop sign, well within 3 feet of my bike. And that caused a lot of problems, and certainly was something that affected my safety for that. I think the peace officers involved were very good, but it was my impression that they didn't know or didn't acknowledge some of the rules of the road, the law about 3 feet distance for that. And this brings up just specific things. I know that there's some roads in town that are kind of more of bike right-of-ways or bikes where they can use the full lane. I'm concerned about some of the roads. So example would be Ridge Road, where if I'm riding within 1 or 2 feet of the curb, and then my bike width and myself are another 2.5 feet, and then 3 feet on that. But if you have a truck, that means you cannot pass with it being legal. So I think that there should be some effort on some of those roads to at least put signage that says passing is not, you cannot pass bikes on those roads. Because I think it's physically you can't do it. I don't know, other ideas would be just like with the motorbike safety, would have maybe billboards or signage that again remind people about some of the rules regarding bikes on. So just bringing it back up to everyone's attention.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Well, no. You just wanted to change the order.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. My name is Rick Bassell, and I live at 880 Country Club Drive, and I ride my bicycle most days to work between about, I rode till into November this year because the weather was pretty good. And I've given up on courtesy. And so what I found is that I just carry this and I put it out on the side of my handlebars. And I started doing this after I got knocked off my bike at the high school. Somebody came out going east on Poe. They came out of the exit and didn't see me and knocked me off. And didn't see me until, they heard my body hit their car. And so I said, okay, I have to have something that protects me a little more. And what I found is that people don't know what that is. And so they stay away from it. But since the Sharrows have gone up, I've been run off Poe Road twice. Fairview twice. And it's typically somebody decides to pass and gives me room, but then there's an oncoming car. So then they just come over. And except in the one case where the person didn't come over and then they drove the other car into the golf firm. Yeah. So it's just, there's just not much, I don't think there's much awareness of it's like it's the bicycle's job to stay out of the way. And I guess I've given up on sort of courtesy. My stick has hit a school bus and a semi, the school bus on Wooster and I on Poe. I just hold it out there and they were that close. So, but again, that's the nature of the problem. I don't.
Rick, I've noticed, in fact, I think the gentleman just left. I think it's Steve that did it for a while.
Yeah, he had the noodles.
The noodle.
Yeah, those, they don't care about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the key to this is that they're just not sure what it is. They don't want to engage. The noodles, they know they're big and soft, no problem. Yeah, so this is effective. But if everybody does this, then I'll have to do something. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Ann Beck.
I just want. My name is Ann Beck, and I live at 717 Brittany Avenue. I just want to say something about transportation versus leisure biking. I think there are people in this town who bike for transportation. You know, it may be to work, or it may be to, to one of the breweries to get a beer, or down to a restaurant. But we're here and we're silent. We don't say anything. This is happening all the time. We get yelled at. Get the F off the road, move over, get on the sidewalk. A police officer recently said, I said, what am I supposed to do? Get on the sidewalk. But then we're not supposed to be on the sidewalks. Where are we supposed to be? And I think with gas prices getting higher, this should be an issue. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much. Jody, do we have anyone else?
No.
Okay. All right. Brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
President.
Mr. Robinette.
From the Finance Committee, I have 3 ordinances. First, an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022. Second, an ordinance for cleaning of streets by special assessment. And third, an ordinance amending and adopting section 33.01G, pay bands 1, 2, and 3 of the codified ordinances of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding salary schedule established.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
I have an ordinance from the Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee amending the zoning district map of the city of Bowling Green for the property generally known as 220 Manville Avenue from M1 light industrial to R2 single family residential zoning.
Mr. President,
Mr. O'Dorisio.
I have a resolution from the Community Improvement Committee, a resolution amending a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, for downtown Bowling Green and enacting regulations.
Brings us to official reports. Mr. Mayor.
Once again, Mr. President, good evening, Council. I just have one item this evening. I'd like to announce the composition of the Climate Action Committee that has been discussed for some time. As always, we're grateful for those members of our community that are willing to serve on our boards and commissions. This is a new group that's coming together to assist the administration and city council in the consideration of a local climate action plan. So this evening, I will, as mentioned, announce the composition of the committee. There are 9 members that represent internal members representing various city departments, and also external members that are representatives of organizations and business and citizenry. So the internal members are Joe Fawcett, the Public Services Director, Amanda Gamby, Sustainability and Public Outreach Coordinator, Mick Murray, our Public Works Director, and Jim O'Neill, the Assistant Utilities Director. The external members are Nick Hennessy, a Bowling Green BGSU Sustainability, representing BGSU and also a citizen. Katie Thompson, Bowling Green Economics Development Director, representing business and also a citizen. Marissa Beckstein, a member of TMACOG staff. I'm really pleased to have TMACOG being involved in this process. She will be representing regional planning and environmental equity positions. Tyler Williams is the plant manager at Southeastern Container. He'll be representing industry and business. And finally, Jim Evans, a retired geology professor from Bowling Green State University, who will be a citizen representative. So we look forward to begin the process. I think we're still finalizing the initial step, which is measuring the initial emissions study. But we hope to have more to report on that process and how this discussion might continue a little bit later this year. So that completes my reports with any questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions for the mayor this evening? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader. Any questions for Ms. Treader this evening? Okay. City Attorney, Mr. Marsh. Any questions for Mr. Marsh this evening? Okay. Public Services Director, Mr. Fawcett.
Sorry to break from the no reports.
It's all right.
I promise to be brief. This morning, I released a press release regarding the East Wooster Street paving project. Unfortunately, that project is getting delayed by a few months. The contractor notified us late last week. There were some issues with the mix design and getting approvals from ODOT and the city engineer. So they are tentatively scheduled to begin on September 19, which isn't all bad. It is after move-in. The city had previously communicated with the contractor that we would prefer that they start before BGSU comes back into session. That didn't work, but the later date does avoid some of the busier times at the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall, Black Swamp, Tractor Pull, the fair, and those types of events. So wanted to bring that before you and let you know what was going on in East Wooster and why they are not milling the pavement currently. That's all I have pending your questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fawcett? Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to Public Infrastructure Director, Mr. O'Connell. Are there any questions for Mr. O'Connell this evening? Brings us to Council Committee reports.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'd just like to report that the Finance Committee met this evening. We received a second quarter update from the Finance Director, and there were no questions or issues. Just a good, solid informational report.
Mr. President,
Mr. O'Dorisio.
the Community Improvement Committee met and discussed ordinance creating section 123 of the codified ordinance of the city of Bowling Green. Several amendments were suggested. We could not decide on the amendments, so we proposed tabling the third reading.
Okay. I guess when we get to that, we'll table that to a date certain. So pick a date that will be after you will be ready for us to vote on it. Okay. Any other council committee reports? All right, I will just, as a recap, we had a meeting on July 12th where we were discussing procedure for beginning our conversation on the ARPA funding. As it sits right now, I can't announce a date that will particularly take place because I'm still trying to get things coordinated, get information out to people. So a date will be coming for that meeting, but it will not be coming today. Any other council committee reports?
Mr. President, since you reported on the committee of the whole, I'd like to read a brief statement from one of the original applicants' funds for the record, and I'll provide a copy to Jody too. This is from Denise Neese at the Wood County Committee on Aging. And she to thank us for our support and advocacy, which has allowed for the future of the Wood County Senior Center or Woodworking Shop to be considered for ARPA funding by the city of Bowling Green. We know that the city has received many ideas, proposals which exceed the funds that you have available to assist projects in the community. That being said, Wood County Committee on Aging would like to withdraw from consideration for the ARPA funds. At this time, it is unknown when Wood County Committee on Aging will be able to begin the basement finishing project. As such, rather than holding any funds which may have been considered and or purchasing tools which at this point cannot be put into use, we would appreciate if you would withdraw our proposal. Again, many thanks for your efforts. Wood County Committee on Aging looks forward to working with you as the woodworking shop becomes a reality in the next few years. Signed, Denise Neese, Executive Director. So I'll pass that copy. We can delete that from our list.
Okay. Any other council committee reports? Brings us to the reading of legislation. Jody?
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Reading legislation, how it's on the agenda versus how it was introduced. I read it how it was introduced, correct? No. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, legislation for first reading. Resolution 3827 for first reading. Resolution amending a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, for downtown Bowling Green and enacting regulations. Ordinance 9017 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette,
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 9017 its second and third readings.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay, so the rules are suspended for ordinance 9017.
Ordinance number 9017 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette,
I move to adopt ordinance 9017.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, Jody, could you call the roll?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 9017 is adopted.
Ordinance 9018 for first reading. Ordinance for cleaning of streets by special assessment. Ordinance 9019 for first reading. Ordinance amending and adopting section 33.01G, K bands 1, 2, and 3 of the codified ordinances of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding salary schedule established. Ordinance 9020 for first reading. Ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Bowling Green for the property generally known as 220 Manville Avenue from M1 light industrial to R2 single-family residential zoning.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps,
we need to set a public hearing for ordinance 9020. I'm proposing Tuesday, September 5th at 6:30.
okay. All right, thank you.
Legislation for second reading. Ordinance 9016 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the Public Services Director to contract with Ventura LLC for improvements at Carter Park associated with the Inclusive Playground Project.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rabando,
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 9016 its third reading.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes. All right. The rules have been suspended for ordinance 9016.
Ordinance 9016 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the Public Services Director to contract with Ventura LLC for improvements at Carter Park associated with the Inclusive Playground Project.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rabando,
I move to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 9016.
second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Jody, could you please call the roll?
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio.
Yes.
All right, so the emergency clause has been adopted for ordinance 9016.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rabando,
I move to adopt ordinance number 9016.
Second.
okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, Jody?
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 9016 is adopted.
Legislation for third reading. Ordinance 9015 for third reading.
Mr. President,
Yes, to read it.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
you
go
have
ahead
to
and
read
give it
it.
its
Thank
third
you.
reading.
Ordinance creating section 123 of the codified ordinances of the city of Bowling Green concerning electric scooters, e-scooters.
Okay,
Mr. President,
yes, go ahead.
we have several pending amendments. I move to table ordinance 9015 to August 1st.
Are you going to be able to get everything done you want to have done by then? Because once we table it, we gotta act on it.
No.
No. I'm moved to table it until August 15th.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Okay, so ordinance 9015 is tabled to August, was it 15th?
15.
15th. Okay, and then I assume you're gonna have to schedule a meeting between now and then. Okay. All right, is there any other business to come before city council this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Do we have to publicly announce a committee meeting?
Yeah, you guys figure out when we want to have your meeting. I would say sooner is better than later, because once you out, then we're gonna want Mike to look at it. See what changes there. So. You guys figure out when you're gonna have a meeting, Jody.
Work, Jody? Said good work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wasn't sure. I had,
I mean, maybe.
this is the first time I've
Maybe.
seen
Maybe we'll just have to- I don't know what's going on before the meeting.
And my
I was not aware of that either.
She said there's a lot of debating.
I was.
That's one of those rules. I think we probably need to know we're not used very frequently.
Yeah.